My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
This is Ontario Police Stalking. That's license 164419. Let me get the rest of her. She starts moving as I'm moving to the video from the image. This is a demon. She knows what I'm doing on my phone. That's why she moved and stopped in the middle of the driveway and looking down. She knows that she's being recorded right now. She's stalking with these demons right here, who are maintaining presence in the path, and these demons are pacing. 7XQS156 is monitoring with the Ontario Police, and so is Brightview. That's light activity and peculiarized light, and that impossible light activity that's just streaming across the streaming. It's a female vehicle, 1056 1644197, and she's monitoring with the people of the state who are adding in light activity, 8 U.S. 796. And I want to be clear, as you are prosecuting, this is this type of iteration where they go to prison together. License, they're monitoring. License plate 9CZS 479, and confirmation that they're monitoring, which is not helping any of them that are going to prison. The Ontario International Airport, 8PUK 899. They're an engineer light, and the entity is stalking with commercial planes. And this is the fake. Okay, the fake, as I'm sitting at the bench over here at 537 North Euclid Avenue, as you're looking at what is Bethel Congregation at what is, I believe, 536 North Euclid Avenue, this is where the fake sun is over the top of my head when I'm at this church at 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. 9LFN210. And as I'm getting up this morning, you will see in the images added to the Google Drive, The entity engaged, this is demonic. So that's how you have that supernatural environment, and it's not the weather, because the weather has nothing to do with what is the fake sun that's still here hours from now. And not only that, I'm capturing the fake sun over me in the morning, sunrise. I am the same person in the same city, same location, capturing a sunset in alignment to me, even when I'm inside of the building. That is the OVITT Family Community Library on the opposite side of this plaza. Okay, the entity is engaged in what is stalking. You should not be looking at the sunrise and the sunset where you live or where you work. That's not the sun. Brightview is a corrupt business. They're monitoring with police. They hire immigrants. It's a business that's facilitating immigration that's engaged, immigrants that are engaged in terrorism with the government. Brightview is relevant. That's relevant to deportation of their employees, of that prosecution of that business that's actually facilitating terrorism, while they are stalking with the police as demons. And they're engaging in that. This is the bus stop where you will see this video is directly relevant and probative, because you're going to look at what's happening moments earlier. The fake sun is rising and it's blaring on me, and these demons are engaging in a sex offense. The fake sun is squarely in alignment to me through the little crevice in between the buildings aimed onto me at this bus stop over here, where the Ontario police were stalking by helicopter last night. Have no issues being seen over and over and over again stalking and harassing someone who's in helicopter, and that's the same agency stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. I'll be uploading that onto X. It'll all be uploaded onto the internet and YouTube. P.O.C. Alrighty, now when I'm done recording, 9CZS 479, if those are immigrants, they're being deported. Okay, they are engaged in monitoring and have no issues engaging in what is criminal conduct. Immigrants that are in this country have a disdain for the law, while they have been trained by the U.S. government to violate it, by the way. But that's not a defense, and you're getting deported out of here. These are venues that are likely associated with those that have been granted a privilege to be the Iglesia Apostolic Profetica at 115 F Street. This is Jeanette's Beauty Salon, and this is 119 F Street. The law offices of Bernard Nizinski. Accidentes de auto, trabajo, casos criminales, casos familiares, bancarrotas, inmigración. They're engaged in what is federal group stalking and monitoring, and they likely, if they are not immigrants, have clients that are immigrants. It's still relevant to ICE and the deportation of gang stalkers, 121 F Street, and the entities engaging in this gang stalking with the police. Okay, I just want to be clear, when the entities gang stalking with helicopter, that speaks to the entire neighborhood. And you already know that, because the fake sun is over me on this street in the afternoon. The fake sun is over me at the OVITT Family Community Library. This is Lemon Avenue, people. OVITT Family Community Library, this is F. So you're talking about EDC, which is the turn circle right down there where the fake sun is setting. Where you see the Ontario police being a demon, you see them stalking me by helicopter, that's where the fake sun rises. Where they're targeting me at night, that's where the fake sun rises, where I rise my head. They're demons targeting, and they are going to be subject to disbanding, and they're going to prison. She was a demon while she's moving the police vehicle, and she stops moving the moment that I point my camera up toward her. That's a demon, very sensitive to what's going on with the devices. That's what they are. They're demons monitoring. That's mental illness, including while you're in the specific environment. I've shown you all the tangible ways in which you are able to identify them, and I'm also letting you know what they're engaged in, what they're interested in. They're demons that are monitoring devices. They're monitoring online. They're monitoring in the environment, and they wear police uniforms. They're mentally ill. And they expose and incriminate the entire neighborhood. P.O.C. It is currently 7:44 a.m. This neighborhood, this is relevant to raids. This is relevant to deportation of the gang stalkers in this neighborhood while they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. And they're very likely immigrants granted a privilege. And that privilege doesn't include terrorism with a corrupt agency that's acting in furtherance of murder, which immigrants share in. They're being deported out of this country. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 7:44 a.m. That's relevant to the demons that sat there monitoring on video. They don't drive off. They're sitting there monitoring on behalf of the demons that's driving police vehicles. They're monitoring when the entity is stalking me by helicopter. They're monitoring as a population under the same exact circumstances, and they are going to be deported. P.O.C. It is currently, where you hear criminal summoning, 7:45 a.m. All right, ARCO and CHEVRON are hosting the Stalking with Light. The entity is aligned on E and Euclid, license 9ETW148, 8BAF 697, 6FFY 913, license 96207B2, ARCO employee 9TIH 520, license 8TCK 701, License plate 7UKP415. License plate 92669 T3, excuse me, 9VNT071 8ZRD025. License 8C92379 8JHF234 7TGU844 8LNJ069. These demons are maintaining presence. The entity's form of stalking with light, covering up the fake sun and showing it. You'll see that uploaded, that malice, because that's how the demons that are stalking you and keep you under surveillance in an environment to terrorize and psychologically torture you and sexually violate you while they maintain a satanic orgy. They're engaging in what is covering up that fake sun, showing it, covering it up, while they're in, again, this is relevant to the spectacle that the documentation made them, the corrupt demons and psychopaths that they are, as you can see it on video, all of them monitoring in the middle of the street, impossible light, my shadow all over the place as they're driving one demon after another. That the entity is covering up the fake sun. The next day, they always engage that. I go to Pomona, California, I go to Fontana, the entity will the next day cover up the fake sun, while they are the only ones with a short-term memory. You didn't forget what happened in Fontana last month while they're still keeping the fakes. These are psychopathic and delusional demons, and the entity is going to be policed by the federal law because the police department that's stalking all night in helicopter at that same bus stop is engaged in what is rising that fake sun at that same bus stop, where I'm capturing a demon in an Ontario police vehicle. She is stalking in the path just like the entity does while they're stalking in a helicopter, and it's at that same intersection where the entity is stalking me at nightfall at that the location where I lay my head is where the fake sun rises, another indication of what is targeting. And I'm capturing this demon, monitoring as I walk north up F Street, FS and Frank, to document the license plates of the terrorist gang stalking at that fake sun rise, which is the same location where I'm capturing the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon at the Bethel Congregation, 536 North Euclid Avenue. I'm inside of that venue. They're keeping engineer light in the hallway of that church. That's impossible light. That's appearing flat on the ground on the inside of the hallway, inside of a building. Sunlight does not do gymnastics and bend underneath into doorways to appear flat inside of the depths of buildings. That's engineered light. The entity is maintaining that inside of a fake church, monitoring my vagina inside of a fake church. That's the same co-defendant demon-possessed. They just put the name church on the outside of the building. The fake sun is over my head at that same address at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's where Ontario police are stalking as well. Covering up the fake sun is relevant to a psychopath that is delusional, that is very much demon-possessed. It's not causing anybody to forget the pattern of conduct. So that's what's relevant to that, and that's also necessary for you to recognize. The entity is engaged in that, and by the way, it is October 22nd, 2025. It's currently 8:15 a.m. Starbucks is monitoring at 507 North Euclid Avenue, UNICARE Community Health Center, Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue. This is where the entity is hosting the maintenance of light, because this is the intersection where I'm at. This is where you have the fake sun, in other words, remaining. 8XKD148 is also stalking in that environment. The entity is maintaining peculiarized light at the intersection, which would be where the fake church is at the I want to say that's Laurel and E Street. It is west of Euclid Avenue. So that's where they're maintaining a method of peculiarized light, just like West Coast arborists are yesterday, maintaining light activity on the street where the fake sun is. It's a method of maintaining light so that 8JGX717 can more effectively monitor in furtherance of murder. This is where you're looking at the patterns of stalking with light, and the entity has the fake sun shining bright on me, where they're all engaging in a sex offense, one demon after another, engaging in that, and then getting a little snippet of it, and then covering up that fake sun for me to encounter a demon in a police vehicle stalking me. And this is a female, and I'm capturing that on video. I am uploading that to all of the platforms for you to witness, and I'm also narrating what they're also simultaneously engaging in, the malice of what they're engaging in at the same time, and it's federal prison. That's the same agency stalking by helicopter. You're looking at all that evidence together. These demons that are kidnapping, they're going to federal prison. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it is so upfront and non-mysterious whatsoever. It's very unequivocal, very unambiguous, and they're going to federal prison. It is currently 8:17 a.m. Documenting license 96207B2, gang stalking in the ARCO and CHEVRON employees, the Ontario Veterinary Hospital, the gang stalking neighborhood, the venues where I'm speaking to what is likely an immigrant population in this on this particular street in certain areas. But you're going immigration policy, that's applying. Everybody's engaged in terrorism. Everybody's at risk, and it's not at risk. You are definitely being deported. So, license 8VRS317 is particularly hostile to that, and that's okay. They'll be deported if they're not a natural-born citizen. Their mother will be deported. Their cousins and younger siblings will be deported if they're not natural-born citizens. They're terrorism. They're engaged in terrorism. All right. It's currently 8:18 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the Ontario police that are engaged in gang stalking with the immigrants throughout California, including everyone in Ontario, California, are engaged in stalking, harassment, and threatening together. While I am publishing onto the internet the pattern of conduct that includes the immigrant population, and the entity engages in what is stalking by helicopter with regard to the failed tactic in ceasing to appear as though you are blatantly stalking someone who is capturing, you're stalking them and putting it on the internet. This is the immigrant population that shall be subject to deportation for that. It's directly relevant to the threat that the immigrants pose. While the entity is threatening your life, stalking you in helicopters as you report them to the federal government, who is going to then deport those terrorists from the country while they're stalking and targeting and harassing you with that gang stalking police department. That's what the entity is doing at 8:58 a.m. It is under the fake sun at ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue. Chevron, who is hosting and sharing in that ongoing terrorism. 5YGX160 is gang stalking with Balbir, who's inside of the Chevron, gang stalking me with the Ontario police. She is being deported. Okay? She's not a natural-born citizen. She's being deported. She's been engaged in gang stalking me with the Ontario police for a prolonged period, threatening my life for a prolonged period, and harassing me with the Ontario Police Department. And every gang stalking terrorist is being deported out of this country. Engaging in more terrorism is not the solution, and that's what's wrong with the mentally ill, who are accustomed to criminal conduct and murdering those that they target. And that's not what's happening here. The immigrants are being deported out of the United States. And by the way, they don't like this country. That's why they're engaged in targeting American citizens. And that's fine, because you're being deported out of here. This is P.O.C. I'm gonna go ahead and capture video. And let's see. This is very much relevant to the deportation policy regarding gang stalking immigrants who are sharing in the criminal pattern of conduct. While there are criminal activity in what is the inevitable deportation policy, which is serving to empower Mr. Trump's ongoing campaign regarding deportation of criminals, that would include gang stalkers that are of the immigrant population. They are directly engaged in targeting me with the Ontario police as I am publishing on the venue of the internet. It's the same pattern of conduct, okay? The entity is engaged in what is gang stalking all races, all ages. Everybody in the city of Ontario has the same mental illness, the same criminal pattern of conduct, and the immigrant population are vulnerable because guess what? They get deported. License PUE 638, that's an Iowa plate. The entity is stalking me just like they were last night at the bench at 537 North Euclid Avenue, sharing in what is the pattern of conduct, doing so with disregard for all the ways in which you're going to be penalized. They're going to prison, and immigrants are being deported out of this country. And as I publish information to that end on the internet, I am subject to more terrorism. The gang stalking immigrants, that is the domestic terrorists in Ontario, California, and throughout the state of California, are being deported. The ongoing gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department, in other words, by the city of Ontario, is speaking to supporting that very deportation policy, where criminals are justly being deported by ICE, by Mr. Trump. And it doesn't matter whether you support that policy or whether you understand it. They are engaged in murdering people. They're targeting them with the government that likes to pull out helicopters and airplanes and stalk in police vehicles like I captured this morning. You're doing so in the neighborhood of the immigrants where they're going to be deported. You're doing so in concert while they use communication devices. And you're doing so in the state of California where it's being in real time simultaneously published on the internet, and they share that disdain, that disregard, that lawlessness. Okay? The Ontario Police Department is not only being disbanded, any immigrant a part of that agency is being deported as well. None of them are welcome, and they are being shipped out of this country. And this is relevant to that deportation policy. It's 9:01 a.m. where the fake sun is over me here, and I'm documenting on the internet relevant to what is stalking in the path. That's Paul Leon's removal from office. That's not coincidental under the fake sun. This is what immigrants are sharing. They're monitoring right now, okay? They're engaging in the pattern of conduct. You don't have a privilege to be in this country and sharing in what is criminal, monitoring and furtherance of murder. It doesn't exist, and you are going to be put right back wherever you came from. And the criminal activity by the City of Ontario is serving to expose and help you give further context regarding the broad deportation policy that's going to be implemented in the state. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 9:02 a.m. where the Ontario police are stalking me with regard to their co-defendant, the immigrants that are sharing in terrorism, and they're being shipped out of here. And the Ontario police are being disbanded. This is P.O.C. All right, Balbir is engaged in ongoing terrorism. Her license is 9EFH194. She is stalking in concert with 8UQL328. Gang stalking at gas stall. That's a psychopath. Gang stalking by gas stalls. Gang stalking by being in a library. Gang stalking as a police department. Gang stalking while you want to appear as doing something else. Those are psychopaths. And it's a demon. This chunky demon is stalking, molesting me with impossible light activity, and then filling up her gas tank, which is a paper trail with regard to prosecution. She's gang stalking at gas stall number 4 with Balbir. I'm being molested inside of the store while I'm making a purchase from CHEVRON, who is also gang stalking. CHEVRON is covered in impossible light activity, which is speaking to the fact that the establishment is a facilitating venue where I am targeted, and that business is going to be prosecuted, as well as the employee, who is likely an immigrant, license 9EFH194, who is subject to deportation. She is also targeting me while demons are surrounding, just like this chunky one at gas stall number 4, who's engaging in a sex offense as an entity that's stalking in helicopters, stalking with amplified noise, stalking under a fake sun that's still here after 7 p.m. And she is doing so as a means of what is state action. She is doing so while the demons that I'm capturing in images on the opposite side of the parking lot, maintaining presence inside of the venue while they keep me surrounded. This is that which is done in furtherance of murder. License 9FUZ768. License plate 9HDE245. License plate 8 Victor Edward Apple 596, sharing in what is surrounding me, and I'm being molested inside of CHEVRON. That is a sex offender, and so is Balbir, and so are her gang stalking co-defendants who come and make purchases with regard to what is the business records that gang stalking establishments are going to produce in order to prosecute the people of the state who are sharing in terrorism with the airport, with the police department, and they just come and engage in all manner of purchasing while they're gang stalking. They're going to be prosecuted, and the entity is going to be compelled to produce. They're going to be producing it themselves. 5 license plate 5 Victor Henry George 892, and it's currently 9:34 a.m. where Balbir is inside a gang stalking, and so is ARCO. License 8TPV986 7C92234, and the ARCO employee again molesting me with the demons that are outside, and they are inside stalking and doing so also with the Ontario Police. License 9TIH520. This is P.O.C. Gang stalking immigrants are, let me be clear, let me state it in a more official language. Gang stalking immigrants, that is domestic terrorists, shall be deported out of the state of California, out of these United States. Okay? This is how you are targeting terrorists in the states where they're engaged in this system of federal group stalking and monitoring, gang stalking, the ongoing conspiracy by government to murder American citizens. You're being deported as immigrants. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:35 a.m. License 5CQY189. License. All right, license plate 5WAN306, 5TJW947. This is stalking. This is the same 215 East C Street, Ontario OVITT Family Community Library. The entity has the fake sun over this same entrance at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sundays, for example, when I walk from the square, and this fake sun remains over the square, including before this hour. When you're in this environment, you're stalking. The Ontario Fire Department, which you already know, while they're driving by, an engineer light swipes across the asphalt, just like any ordinary demon engaging in surveillance. This very well, if this is an immigrant, they're being deported. They're engaging in what is surveillance on behalf of the government that's stalking in plains and hell. That's federal prison, just so that you know. That's federal prison right there. The Ontario police are stalking. And they do a co-defendants who are under a fake sun. The fake sun is aimed inside of this same entrance after 5 p.m., which is what I documented yesterday. Very demonic. In the same way that you're looking at the impossible light that seems to search out and pursue, that seems to manifest out of nowhere, inexplicable, you're looking at mental illness. They're demon-possessed people, and they're stalking. It's psychopathic to engage in that and wanting to appear on the surface. Okay, if you're just looking at it, no context, no POC, the entity including presence with the helicopter, is supposed to appear as innocent and unsuspicious. 8YKG047. The gang stalking immigrants under the fake sun that's over the Ontario City Hall, that is east of this entrance at 12:51 p.m. is removing Paul Leon from office, disbanding that gang stalking police department, deporting gang stalking immigrants, imprisoning those that are kidnapping, like the OVITT Family Community Library, under the 10:29 a.m. fake sun while they're kidnapping on June 16, 2022. 8SVC008 is engaging in terrorism while Impossible Light moves across the building. That's a supernatural occurrence. The population shares in that. The municipality is sharing in that. And the fake sun is still here after 5 p.m. aimed inside of that entrance while I'm inside, and this is supposedly sunlight, and it's dragging inside of the venue. That's speaking to mental illness that's operating a municipality vehicle. Stalking with Impossible Light. The average psychopath, 1678097, in need of what is commitment, and that's what they're getting. You know that United States Postal Service are demons, that they're gang stalking? The entity admits it while they engage in that. That's the entity that's gang stalking. JOHNNYW, gang stalking under a fake sun that's still here after 5 p.m., still stalking me. That's the population that concentrates this pattern of conduct inside of the venue. That's why the video that I will attach to you, attached to this, you'll see the fake sun shining, and Impossible Light is reaching into the depths. That's absolutely impossible, and it's absurd. It's getting to the mental illness of the demons that are gang stalking in that environment. Okay, every form, every status, that's speaking to the entity that's engaging in psychopathic behavior. 5JHH015, they go into bathrooms on behalf of that gang stalking police to monitor my vagina. They are going to prison. They are being deported. They are being civilly and criminally prosecuted, okay? This is the corruption of every business, the federal RICO case, license 1674769, Ontario on the go, is gang stalking. The entity stalking with helicopter, doing so with immigrants, and that is their ticket out of this country. That's exactly what that is. This is P.O.C. I'm inside of this parking garage, 7:55 in the morning, and where's the fake sun? The same position right here. The illusion, the presentation of sanity, that's the illusion that is being shattered. These are not sane people. These are demons. This is the Nephilim, and it's being disbanded. Stalking me at the bus stop, stalking me at the gas station, and fake sun remains over me. And it's still here in the evening when they are stalking and keeping a fake sun over this town square at 5:49 p.m. That's the unequivocal stalking, unambiguous stalking, and using helicopters is designed to what is terrorize and further into the conspiracy to murder. Mike LORENZ is being removed from law enforcement. They are being disbanded, and this is exposing mental illness. This is P.O.C. Gang stalking immigrants just like this. Operation of the communication device. This appears to be an Asian female. May or may not be an immigrant, but I want to be clear, if it's an immigrant, they're being deported. This is also federal prison. This is also mental illness. License 5TJW947 is acting in concert. They're all racist gang stalking together. P.O.C. This is the entity that is engaging in what is psychopathic behavior. The more that you expose them, because they're clearly caught, they just engage in more of it. More Impossible Light, more stalking with helicopter. RRRZ13N. License plate 9RJJ673. Gang stalking African Americans, gang stalking Asians, gang stalking Caucasian. There are no demographics with regard to the P.O.C. But when you are of that status of immigrant, you're getting shipped out of here. These are terrorists. And so that's the easy way to resolve what is the entity of that's conspiring murder of American citizens, that they're stalking with a police department. They're being deported. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:43 a.m. This is the evidence that is serving to support that deportation policy. And there is absolutely no basis of anything other than federal prison. Flying over my head again, this is not a coincidence. And that's a threat posed by the gang stalker themselves. You see the smile? That's a demon, and that's very psychopathic. This is P.O.C. This is an entity that's engaging in stalking together under a fake sun that's still here, aimed into alignment to me even inside of the venue. That's P.O.C. Every employee is gang stalking at the OVITT Family Community Library. Everybody in this venue, Saris Regis is being prosecuted, gang stalking. Every resident, every employee, the Ontario Town Square, the gang stalking business, that truck is a matter of light activity. The Ontario City Center, Senior Center, gang stalking while the Ontario International Airport flies over that. The City of Ontario flies over it with helicopter, keeping a fake sun as I'm documenting it. It's currently 9:44 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me. For example, at the Montclair Transit Center, where the sun is not going to be over the entrance, and it certainly isn't going to be in Montclair, because the entity keeps the fake sun at this entrance well after 5 p.m. 9HMW680. This is mental illness that you need to be made aware of. It's a threat to your life. It's a threat to national security, and terrorists that are hiding under the names of what are police departments, that are doing so in concert with terrorists that fill the state, engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murder. Looking to the left and right, that's mental illness, okay? And that's also a demon. They are also sex offenders keeping your genitalia under surveillance before they murder you. These are demons stalking with impossible light, stalking under a fake sun, stalking with the entity that uses planes and helicopters to share in harassing and threatening you together. That's the entity that keeps a grin on its face. That's Satan incarnate, okay? This is P.O.C. This is very much demon possession. This is impossible light, where a demon is gang stalking and smiling from ear to ear, where demons are stalking with the entity that is stalking unequivocally with helicopters falling all around while they are being fully exposed. And it's being put on the internet because the world needs to know about it. And the city of Ontario is being gutted out. The federal government is going to come because the population itself has been overwhelmed with corruption. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:45 a.m. 8NSL193. This is sharing in what is stalking with the entity that uses helicopter. These two defendants in their vehicles, that's federal prison. The demons that are pacing, including the entity that is the federal government, U.S.P.S, where there's no sun, over what is 1555 East Holt Boulevard, where I'm documenting the Ontario police stalking me during the 8 a.m. hour at the United States Postal Service on Holt Boulevard. And I'm also documenting the entity having the fake sun over that same United States Postal Service. When you're looking at the whole body of evidence, speaking to the entity that's engaged in gang stalking in an environment that is unmistakable, that is to a scientific degree serving for what is the inevitable demise of a demon-possessed city, which is within a demon-possessed state that is gang stalking altogether as a corrupt public entity in furtherance of murder. And as the psychopaths are caught, like I stated, they engaged in more and more incriminating conduct, such as stalking and flying over the top of my head by helicopter, as opposed to maintaining what is the implausible, albeit what is one that you could attempt. Well, we're not stalking because we're flying over here. No, the demons that are caught, they engage in more psychopathic and threatening conduct, such as flying over the top of my head, as I'm capturing clear evidence of what is not the sun, because it's still at the same entrance after 5 and 6 p.m., even aimed in alignment to me, while sunlight, that's the guise of it's engineered light, as though it's like reaching out toward me, pursuing me inside of the building. That is the purpose of the demon possessed. They're stalkers. And the light shows you what they are and what's wrong with them mentally. They are deranged and they are stalking. That's the purpose of every form of pursuit. The people of the state are in pursuit under the fake sun. The engineer light is in pursuit. Okay? The entity that's operating the commercial vehicle is license 0351 OT1. It's gang stalking. That's Robertson. They're engaging the P.O.C. with the city of Ontario. Doing so, again, that's license 0351 OT1. They're stalking in the path with the means of light activity. And they're doing so right now, monitoring just like they were. That's a large male wearing what is a short buzz haircut. He drives by in order to monitor, and that's exactly what he was diligently engaging in with the Ontario Police, which is federal prison, and the prosecution of Robertson that's been documented for years, gang stalking me, including in Los Angeles. The entity engages in psychopathic behavior, such as the patrolling on video with the engineer light when they are caught. These are psychopaths that engage in harming as many people as possible until they are restrained, meaning until the federal government tackles them to the ground and restrains them and puts them away. They will kill as many people as possible. They will harm as many people as possible. That's what you're paying attention to, the psychopathic disorder of the entity that is clearly caught, because the entity, you can look at the evidence of what is clearly the P.O.C, and the entity then just resorts to, we'll do more and more stalking with impossible light. We'll do more and more flying over the top of your head. We'll engage in it while we're smiling from ear to ear. Very delusional, very demented behavior. These are the serial killers that are going to be governed by the federal law, because the federal law is going to have to come in and take over, because this is entirely corrupt. And the gang stalkers, the terrorists themselves, the Ontario Police and the city of Ontario has demonstrated an inability to refrain from criminal activity threatening the public. So this is mandating that the federal law is going to come in. I'm gonna let you know that's exactly what's going to happen. But the entity, you're paying attention, because we're beyond what is proven the case now. This is what I stated at the outset years ago, that these are psychopaths. They're mentally sick. And this is where you are at the evidence now. You can clearly see it. You've gone beyond the veil of illusion, and now you're able to see bare bones, not only what they're doing, look at what they do when they are caught in front of everyone and they engage in more threatening. So now you might take me out of the picture, because you are looking and understanding what is the experience, what is the trauma, what is the threat, what is the demise of American citizens, the average American citizen that is subject to this. Okay? The psychopath that is engaged in what is smiling, you look like a psychopath smiling while you're gang stalking an engineer light that's covering everything, flying on the walls, you're driving in it, sitting in it, while the entity is engaged in blatant stalking with the police in a helicopter. These are the demons that commit murder together. and it's the city of Ontario, and it is Paul Leon, and it is Mike Lorenz and Alan D. Wapner. It is the city of Ontario International Airport. All of these functions of terrorism are being removed, and the federal government is going to come in and take over because of the rampant illness, the sickness here that is manifested into criminal activity that cannot be permitted to exist and infect anymore, okay? And so that is my purpose in exposing that, because we're beyond the proving the case. It's already been proven. The gang stalker that's in the police vehicle this morning, vehicle number 1036 at 536 North Euclid Avenue, she's a stalker, and she's a mentally ill one, very sick, very, very sick, and so sick, 8ROH673 shares that mental illness as a demon-possessed terrorist that is merely in a police vehicle that psychopath has no business whatsoever actually being in. It facilitates her ability to murder people, her ability to psychologically torture and stalk and terrorize them by virtue of that uniform, okay? They're just using police vehicles and helicopters to do it. And by the way, the entity that's stalking me by helicopter, it's already letting you know before I captured this demon in images and on video this morning under the covered up fake sun that she is a psychopath, that she's a part of the same pattern of conduct. You're surrounded with the evidence, so everyone that I'm encountering is engaging in that same exact pattern of conduct. The entity is delusional, but while they are engaging in the conduct, you are looking at them show you Satan is not hiding anymore. That's what you're looking at. Satan is becoming more and more overtly aggressive. While they first sought to try to falsely depict the character, that no, you're not falsely depicting anyone. The target individual does not appear to be any sort of delusional or bipolar or hallucinating person, and they're imagining no, the entity is psychopathic, and that's what the evidence shows you. 6 U.E.X. 328 is Exhibit A. Stalking with impossible light is the outward demonstration of the closeted mental illness that they don't want you to know about, but they are very much aware that they have. That's why they engage in what is defaming American citizens, and they call themselves a police department. They're going to be mentally examined and criminally prosecuted, both. Okay, this is the entity that is engaged in what is that P.O.C. together. License plate. Gang stalkers that are looking for deportation, EC55T71. That's an Asian male, a Japanese, Taiwan, driving a white Audi. Gang stalker with the entity that's stalking by commercial plane, just like they are in the afternoon as I walk out yesterday. And the entity is stalking with plane activity as I walk out and capture that fake sun. This is the entity that shares in that simultaneous conduct. It's the same pattern of conduct with regard to the helicopter activity and presence, parking in the parking lot, and you're driving an engineer light. You're driving under a fake sun that's still over the same interest in the same position. When you're looking at what is, again, this illusion that they present with this fake sun, as I use OVITT Family Community Library as an example of what every single person in the state of California is engaging in, targeting as a demon-possessed population. Very highly unintelligent, not even smart enough to trick a high schooler, let alone, we can go even for a fifth grader, because at 4 p.m. it's in the same position. That's why I give you screenshots. Look at what is over the entrance at right now before 10 o'clock, 9:44 a.m. It's in the same position at 4 p.m. 9:44 a.m. It's in the same position at 4 p.m. All right, and they're walking in and out, clutching babies, pushing strollers, holding out pamphlets about being a Jehovah's Witness while they're demons engaging in what is nothing other than the pattern of conduct with a gang stalking entity that is conspiring a murder. That's what's trying to tell you, bear false witness about what is a false religion while they're conspiring the murder of somebody else by handing out pamphlets about being a Jehovah's Witness. Okay, that's the entity that's gang stalking. They're doing so at 215 East C Street. The entity that's gang stalking as employees at the OVITT Family Community Library, they're going to prison. And they are absurdly mentally sick. That's why they have the impossible light inside of the library. That's why they have the entity that is stalking by helicopter and by plane at the venue. So in other words, what it is that I've shown you and what it is that I've proven, and you need to understand and recognize you're dealing with demons. And in the same way that the entity is in the environment that is conducive for monitoring, the environment where monitoring is underway, none of them are in the environment coincidentally or ignorantly, and they share in that criminal system. They also share in what is mental illness. They share in that condition of demon possession, which is the cause of their mental illness. And it is also manifesting in what is a threat to American citizens. And that's where the feds come in, because your mental illness becomes a threat to other people that you conspire and target. You target their genitalia, you target their property, you target and violate their privacy, their reasonable sensibilities while you're stalking and surveilling them in absurd places and in absurd ways. Like City of Ontario just pacing 1564814, they're psychopaths. All right, and this is the mental illness that you are aware of that Paul Leon shares. The fake son is over him. Again, I want to be clear, over the office rather. The Ontario City Hall, it's over me at 9:44. So 3 hours from now, the fake son is east of this same entrance to be over the Ontario City Hall. That's how you're analyzing the evidence. He is the same mentally ill, sex offending terrorist in this country, in the city, and facilitating this violence committed as a municipality. That's why these demons that are mentally ill, stalked with impossible light, they're all in City of Ontario vehicles. They share mental illness and they share criminal activity. And that is the same with regard to that P.O.C. The only exception is myself, literally. That's why I am the one that is subject to targeting by demons who know who I am. They know I don't share that mental illness. They know I don't share that appetite for keeping somebody else's genitalia under surveillance. And they know that I am disgusted by it as I expose it, and I embarrass them because they're psychopathic, meaning their mental illness is not one of knowledge about the lack of knowledge about the impropriety and how socially unacceptable it is currently, but Satan is working on that. And you're witnessing that Satan is becoming more aggressive. You're going to prosecute the police department for that. You're going to prosecute the people of the state for that. For that aggression, okay, you're going to be deported. And nobody's going to be crying for you because you don't like how ICE snatches you up out of this country, because you don't like where they ship you off to. This is exactly what they deserve. And the way in which it happens is nobody's business, to be honest with you. They're being deported out of this country because this is the conduct that they commit against American citizens that don't have a voice. And they derive pleasure from it. And they share in that criminal activity, monitoring genitalia. You are a sexually perverted psychopath and a co-conspirator of murder with knowledge, okay? And it calls itself the City of Ontario. It calls itself the Ontario Police Department. It calls itself a demon in their vehicle on their phone. They're sharing in the elements of monitoring. It's absolutely psychopathic. 5TJW947 is the name, if you will, identifying that psychopath that's gang stalking. This appears to be an Asian female, if not a natural-born citizen or her mother. You're talking about the entire family that is exposed to deportation. You are bringing the heat back to the entire household, and this is how you're going to target terrorists. It's not just that terrorist, because they may be a homegrown terrorist, if you will, born in this country. But terrorism is speaking to what is their family. What is their family that they have visiting the kid? They're all being deported. So like I stated, the entities engaging in what is speaking to providing at the same time while they're targeting the resolution to rid this country of them. 70417U2. Bemis is a gang stalking business, and they hire demons that are engaged in criminal activity, and Bemis is not actually concerned with conducting whatever business it's selling. They're doing so with regard to criminal surveillance, and a demon is operating that vehicle, stalking with impossible light. It is currently 9:58 a.m. The entity has the fake sun, like I documented on video, in Montclair, California, which is how you are aware that that's criminal summoning. That's relevant to the criminal activity that the demons at the OVITT Family Community Library is sharing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them right now at the entrance, and they're all engaged in what is monitoring vagina. Okay, they're sex offenders, and they share in that criminal pattern of conduct with the psychopaths stalking me by helicopter and police vehicles and fire trucks as a population that is absurdly psychopathic under a fake sun. And they're all delusional psychopaths sitting in a library all day long when their purpose is surveillance. That's what's going to be mentally examined, and that's what's going to be criminally prosecuted. And they're doing so with the employees of the OVITT Family Community Library. People like John, Yesenia, people like Alan, Abigail, people such as the employees, Mickey, that are engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're going to be federally prosecuted. The entities engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and they committed kidnapping with the employees of OVITT Family Community Library and the gang stalking patrons. And you are aware of the pattern of conduct that they are engaging in when they committed kidnapping in 2022, and that's why they're going to prison. Okay? This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's gang stalking and then makes assertions such as you're molesting children when they're monitoring the genitalia of children. That's why they're going to federal prison. It's sitting on the record. And the way in which they were gang stalking when they committed kidnapping, you are already aware of it. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. That's criminal summoning under the 9:59 a.m. fake sun, where they're all stalking inside of the library, where that fake sun still remains in alignment to me in the depths of the library, where psychopaths walk on engineer light, walking in and out in custody of children while they're sharing in what is a federal offense, terrorism. P.O.C. 215 East C Street, where the fake sun is present and where it's present in the evening as well. This is the pattern of conduct. All right, the OVITT Family Community Library, these are the employees that also engage in kidnapping. And they are also together. It's very pathetic. It's not just criminal, it's pathetic.
it's really pathetic. But this includes Alan. This includes gang stalkers that they're walking with. They're crossing paths, as I just so happen to be creating a Google account. You don't need a phone number to create a Google account. These are the pop-ups that appear after they are monitoring my creation of that. And Alan's engaged in the kidnapping on June 16, 2020. He is crossing path. I'm documenting. They're pacing in and out of the entrance, monitoring with the demons of the Ontario police under that fake sun over the same entrance where I'm capturing it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he is also engaged in monitoring, seeking to obstruct the ability to operate your internet so that you can create for example, a place where you can put the evidence. And if you're putting it on the internet, so something like an electronic storage account, to put it in those terms, that's what the Google Drive serves as essentially. And the entity that's monitoring is aware of that. You are both kidnapper, you are both false accuser, and you are both engaged in obstruction of justice. These demons inside of the OVITT Family Community Library are all of the above, while they're keeping my vagina under surveillance and gang stalking, with the demons that are stalking me flying over and around the venue. It is not any more clear with regard to the formula requiring the penalty of prison, okay? And the entity's engaged in this, so I am using my other device that is not operated by Ontario Wi-Fi. These are desperate and very pathetic minions, and so they still engage in pacing all around, but I'm able to create my Google Drive account that does not require a phone number. That's a superficial means of blocking you, so then you enter in, you fill out that. It's basically like a form of a pop-up, if you will, but you're thinking that it's a part of the process you're going through to create a Google account, and it's not. And then you enter your phone number. The first time it'll work, but the next time you put it in, it'll say, oh, this has been used too much, and that's able to stop you from creating that Google Drive account. And if you don't know any better, then you'll stop there and you won't continue with whatever you're doing, or you'll assume it's a malfunction. It's monitoring. But anyway, this is relevant to the entity that poses the impermissible threat. You are both conspiring murder, and you're trying to stop the whistleblower. You're going to prison for that. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is very serious, interfering with internet connectivity when the internet is how you are reporting to the federal government that the entity is threatening your life and stalking you and following you around, engaging all manner of demonic, the P.O.C. that I've shown you, okay, while they're conspiring your murder, and you are delusional to think that I'm prosecuting you and they're doing it to me. They're going to prison. This is what American citizens are not going to be subject to, though. This is why I'm documenting it and exposing it so that you understand how this system works, and it's informing federal legislation. Okay? Anyway, those screenshots capturing what is federal stalking. Okay, federal stalking with regard to surveillance that intends to obstruct justice by blocking the ability to create a Google Drive where evidence is stored and the public and the federal government are witnessing it. The information that is made accessible to the public is also necessary. It is a public service that is serving the public good, and it is absolutely necessary in a public investigation of the government as well. All of that are relevant, and it's an integral aspect regarding the prosecution of the U.S. government as well. You're not interfering with any of that and avoiding the penalties for it. You're not. This is P.O.C. It's 11:01 a.m.
All right, this is a plane right behind here at the Bethel congregation. This is 536 North Euclid Avenue, and it is 9:10 p.m. This is impossible light activity. This is a demon. This is criminal monitoring, and it's stalking by the population. This is a demon walking in injured light, monitoring and consult with the airport. That is not taking off over Euclid Avenue, over the storefronts. This is P.O.C. It's impossible light while those demons are crossing paths. This is monitoring. This is what they do under a fake sun over me all day long. It is currently 9:10 p.m. The entity engaged in what is rising right here behind this fake church, where I captured the Ontario police stalking this morning with the gang stalkers along this neighborhood. All of them are gang stalking, including the immigrant population. As the government engages in criminally monitoring, the government is blowing the whistle on its own co-defendants, the immigrants in the city, which is the immigrants in the state who are going to be deported for criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder, which is why the Ontario board and the Ontario executive team are engaging in what is facilitation of that conspiracy to murder while they are stalking using the most absurdly psychopathic means, commercial planes that are not taking off from 2500 South Archer, 2500 Airport Drive to hover over this church on Euclid Avenue and fly over this storefront. Okay, this is P.O.C. And then this is where demons are walking. He's walking in engineer light. You are aware of the impossible light. This is where the fake sun was rising. It's called stalking with light. They're all monitoring together. These are psychopaths. This is a demon. License plate 7PXG 499. Gang stalking and further into murder. Ongoing surveillance underway. Chevron, ARCO, German at Chevron is monitoring. He's going to be deported if he's not a natural born citizen. He is monitoring with the airport that's flying next to me, stalking me, like all of them are stalking as a population. This is P.O.C. It's 9:11 p.m. There are multiple shadows. Let me back up so you can see the light. Here's one shadow. Here's another shadow. There's another one over there, very faint. This is the same light activity in the bathroom inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. It's the same light activity throughout that venue. This is impossible light activity. It's not caused by the natural light circumstances. It's speaking to what is surveillance. This doesn't cause multiple shadows. This is P.O.C.